Good morning. Welcome back to the One Celtic Fans View this morning. Celtic, well, that was a struggle last night, wasn't it? It was more than a struggle. Just put that in there. Now it's charged. It was more than a struggle last night, but at least Celtic got it over the line. We did manage to get the points. That's all that matters. We're second in the table, but it has to be said that Celtic weren't on fire last night, and it makes it even worse that a £4.5 million signing has went down the road that some Celtic players have done in the past, and they've put cryptic clues on Instagram. Now, when it happened before under Brendan Rodgers, the player was gone by the next window. Mikel Ange Balikwisha has deleted all but one post from his Instagram concerning Celtic. The only one that he has put on, has left on, was one that was put up when he signed for Celtic. You've got to remember that Martin O'Neill did say publicly that he said to Mikel Ange Balikwisha that, as Martin O'Neill's time came to an end the first time round, he said that, look, maybe the next manager will fancy you as a player. Maybe the next manager will give you more time. And Michelangelo Balikwisha went, thank you, Martin O'Neill. Glad you're away. He then went away to the African Nations Cup and came back, and Martin O'Neill is still in the building. He didn't even make the squad last night. Celtic seem to be on a crash course to making as many players as possible unhappy as possible. Michelangelo, I mean, the list is growing daily. Michelangelo Balikwisha unhappy at Celtic due to the way that he's getting treated by the club. We bring back Stephen Welsh in a hurrah that we need him as a player. He's needed, and he doesn't even make the bus. And then you've got Dies Maida, who was on his way to Wolfsburg in August, who looks as if he's just fed up at Celtic. And then I would say Rio Hitati, another one. Another player that looks unhappy at Celtic, just doesn't want to put a shift in. And then the only player that you could say is maybe enjoying himself just now amongst the turmoil is Yang, but he didn't perform to the way that he could last night either. And then people will say, Tenekte, what was wrong with him? What a fun time to be a Celtic fan. It's absolutely amazing. It's great. We're in the midst of a battle in the league. And maybe it is a case that we've had it far too easy. Dyson was great in the press against Falkirk, attacking and getting back to defend around midfield. Yeah, but if you look at his attitude sometimes, over the past couple of weeks, he's definitely a player that has he's not happy at Celtic. You cannot say that Dyson Maida's happy at Celtic. But anyway, that is the news this morning. Celtic have been linked with let me just see what Martin O'Neill said last night. Just reminding myself, Martin O'Neill was pleased with the win, but openly admits it was a poor performance. He then described the match as a struggle for long periods, giving credit to Falkirk, how they played. There's a clear contrast highlighted between the excellent performance on Saturday, he said. And he said, tonight it looks as if the players were tired. We did make some changes, and we tried to freshen it up, but something didn't click tonight. The clinical moment, he emphasised the importance of the goal being clinical. We need to take our chances when they come. Benji Negron's goal just before half time, he described that as decisive in the game. It took us to the 40. I thought we were maybe push on in the second half. I think that whilst Celtic upped their game slightly in the second half, I think Falkirk were equal to it, and Falkirk were in a no-lose situation. They were in a position where it was a free one. As a game of football, their manager said before, if we get anything from this, fantastic. We're not expected to get anything from this. So with that being said, just go out and enjoy yourself. Just go out and play football. Do you know, this Celtic team aren't brimming with confidence. Doesn't matter that Martin O'Neill would come back, is back. You know, put a bit of pressure on this team. They do not like it, and that was shown last night. You know, for as good as we were at the weekend, Falkirk put a bit of pressure on us, and we just didn't like it at all. He spoke about Benji Negrin's goal. He says that currently in form and ability, he needs to take more chances. The squad needs to take chances. However, he made it clear that expectations of midfield players are really high at the club. So why on earth was Rio Hatate introduced to the team? Well, he could have been, because let's face it, before Benji Negrin scored the goal, you would say that Rio Hatate, Benji Negrin and Arnie Engels were caught missing in the midfield. They were caught missing in the midfield, which was fair play to Falkirk. I have to say it. Fair play to Falkirk for being as aggressive as they were, something that this Celtic team doesn't have. Hence the reason that Michelangelo Balikwisha doesn't make the squad, because he doesn't have the physicality to compete in Scottish football. Martin went on to say that Benji's came up big and delivered when it mattered, securing the 3 points. Although, you've got to give it. I mean, Benji Negrin got man of the match last night, but for me, man of the match last night went to the goalkeeper. It went to Kasper Schmeichel. And I think Kasper, obviously, is going to play good when your dad's watching. You've got that. They've got that icon sitting in the stands, that Manchester United legend of the game, and you know that you started your game at Falkirk, you know, when you were a young lad, long time ago, and he'd be wanting to put in a good performance just to show his old man that he's still got it and that he's on the cusp of fighting for Celtic to try and get us back in the title race, which we are. We are still in the title race. No matter what the headline says, Celtic are still in the title race. It is 6 points. 6 points between now and the end of the season. Hearts. Can they maintain their luck? And it is luck, especially when they had 2 goals disallowed from St Mirren last night. Second half performance, Martin felt that the team improved after the break, after he had his word, after Sean Maloney spoke, after Fozzie gave them the Fozzie rant. I'd love to hear what Fozzie. I can't wait. Hope Celtic do one of these end of season DVDs again, and behind the scenes, and just so people can clip the Fozzie rants, and Fozzie just giving it to players. It would be worth it, even if we don't win anything. You know, just put the Fozzie rants out Celtic so that we can get some sort of perspective about what it means in the dressing room for Fozzie, especially. He says that Martin O'Neill went on to say that there's a different satisfaction in grinding out a win like this compared to a dominant victory. He did mention the artificial surface. You know, he said that it was making it. Players were making it sloppy in possession, especially losing the ball in dangerous areas under pressure. Martin O'Neill says, but he views the game as a learning experience. I don't think that there was any plastic. Yeah, there was. There was Dunfermline, wasn't there? And was there any plastic pitches in Scottish football when Martin O'Neill was manager? I don't think there was. I don't think it was a thing back then. Yeah, I don't think it was a thing back then. So Martin O'Neill says it's a learning experience. Defensive praise for Kasper Schmeichel's last minute saves. It was a good save. I mean, Kasper did pull out some cracking saves. People said after the match, would Sinasalo have saved them? Yes, he might have saved them. He probably would have saved them. Do you know? Baz, has Stephen Johnson asked his carer about the gangman? Is Stephen Johnson in the chat this morning? Let me just double check. It's maybe a bit early. I'm not seeing him. Is he in the chat? She's maybe in shock and she's maybe slapped him. Calm yourself, you. I can't see him in the chat. I don't know if he's in this morning yet. It's maybe a bit early for him. But like again, she's maybe taking him out in one full swipe, asking him to do the gangman style dance. But anyway, the manager went on to highlight Casper's winning mentality and experience, saying that the team's thankful to have him. We knew that Martin O'Neill would stick with Casper Schmeichel. He did say that he would stick with it. Um, yeah, but was the Dunfermline, was that not after Martin O'Neill's era? I can't remember if they had the plastic pitch at the time. I know they were in the league. I mean, I can remember Celtic almost winning the league there, but they never had a plastic pitch. Maybe they did. Maybe it was Dunfermline. Yeah. I don't think Kelly had one back then. But anyway, we digress. The focus now shifts from the Scottish Premier League to a big match this weekend. Can't get much bigger. Scottish Cup. Yes. The romance of the Cup and 9,000 Celtic fans. Will those 9,000 Celtic fans be in fine voice? Is the big question. Because it has to be said that the Celtic fans last night were all singing and dancing, were they? I don't think that they were too happy at points last night, but they ended up singing in the end, which was always good. Now, the fact that we need to, it will be a bit of a change of pace and change of challenge, Martin O'Neill says. He also said that the squad needs reinforcements, mentioning thoughts about supplementing the squad alongside the preparation for the weekend. Will there be players brought in for um, will there be players brought in for the game this weekend? Let me just check this. We are trying to get, I'll give you a little bit of an update on this one because I know that you're all just as invested in this as me. We are trying to get to 25,000 subscribers before Celtic sign a striker. We're currently sitting on 24,924. So can we get to 25,000 before Celtic sign anyone really? People were laughing last night. We could probably get to 50,000 before we sign anyone. But anyway, we move on from that and we get back to what Celtic were. What Martin O'Neill was saying about the game last night. Basically, Martin O'Neill, when he looked at the game, you get everything that you would expect from Martin O'Neill. He was honest, he was self critical of the team, but he was calm about it. You know, he wasn't throwing players under the buses. He wasn't saying that I've been given the keys to a Honda Civic and making players cry. He is making one player cry, and that is Mikael Ange Balikwisha, who is who's thrown the dummy out by deleting all his Celtic content. I'll wait to see if he puts anything up on his Instagram stories. If he does at that point, that's when you know it's a slippery slopes. But maybe Martin O'Neill and the backroom staff just don't fancy him. And the weird thing about it is the fact that Celtic spent 2 years chasing Michelangelo Balikwisha. We were linked with him for 2 summers before we finally signed him, and it was a case of who who who's looking at these players long term. Do you know? I know that we've went through the whole Paul Tisdale thing over the last couple of years, and then it seems to be that Sean Maloney is taking a big part of the recruitment at Celtic. Just seems to be an absolute nightmare just now. Baz, they should have left Welsh at Motherwell. Dies Maida missing a header, mate, 1 metre for the line, and Hatate. I really do feel for Stephen Welsh. I think that Stephen Welsh is bound to be saying, do you know, like I said at the beginning of the video, Celtic are making a big thing out of really, never mind pissing off the fans. Celtic seem intent on want to aggravate the fans by not signing players, and then they want to aggravate the players by bringing them to Celtic, bigging them up, saying that absolutely boomf. I'm not going to ask what you're doing with that, mate. Um, uh, bringing players to Celtic, bigging them up, and then absolutely destroying their careers. And it's interesting to say. I mean, bringing Stephen Welsh back and being in the media, Martin O'Neill saying, "Yeah, we're being selfish. We're bringing him back. We need him in the squad." And then you're expecting Stephen Welsh to be on the bench, and he doesn't even make the bench. So Balikwisha can go. Wouldn't even notice his absence. But the fact that Celtic have been linked with more strikers, Martin O'Neill did confirm that there was did confirm a name, but that was roughly about it. We'll wait and see until I'm not going to talk about potentials because we're getting linked with everybody, and until a player has booked a medical and he's on his way to Celtic, I think it's only then that it would be, because everyone's a lot of the Celtic sites are going on about Balikwisha this morning and he's snub to Celtic. You would expect any player to do that, but anyway, Martin O'Neill did confirm that Celtic are going to sign a striker called Franco. You can't make it up, can you? The fact that Celtic have got a big issue with a certain club and the association to Franco, even though that it's disfounded in this day and age. I mean, the club in question is it would be more, the city especially is more left wing than the whole of the UK combined, and in Madrid. But Celtic are looking at a Slovenian striker called Franco in the January window. Sorry, I shouldn't smile, but I do love it. I see people online going on about Franco's 11 and all the rest of it when the reality of Spain that it's more left wing than Scotland, England, and Britain will ever be in the next 10 years, and I don't see it changing anytime soon. But anyway, let's not talk about politics and stuff on the channel because people spit their dummy out. Anyway, the striker has become one of the most central talking points of the season. Supporters every single day. We're now 15 days and no striker at Celtic. Martin O'Neill has only been back for just a couple of weeks. That Balikwisha put some biblical quote up when Brendan went and then took it down again. Seems trouble to me. The Grumpy Greek did the exact same. Hence the reason he was expelled from Celtic. And a lot of Celtic fans say, bring back the Grumpy Greek. He did the exact same with Celtic. He put up social media posts and he was soon told there's no place for that at Celtic and there's no place for you at Celtic. You're gone. Don't care how good you are. Lauren says, ultimately, if we don't sign this week, we lose at Tynecastle and it's season over. Becomes a two-way title race and we'll be praying that Hearts don't mess it up. It's an interesting one, Lauren. I don't think Celtic will lose to Hearts. I think that they are riding their luck and they will know that they're riding their luck. You can't keep on Franco, hopefully Begbie. you'd probably be better off with Begbie at Celtic right now. And in fact, maybe we have our own Begbie and it's in Fozzie. But yeah, I would probably be Adolf Messi's been linked to Celtic as well. Palmer done it all the time. Yep, Palmer done it all the time, and he was ejected, wasn't he? He was sent. He was told he was not good enough for Celtic. It's a thing that foreign players do seem to do, and it's maybe accepted in some quartets of Scottish of football, but it's certainly not at Celtic, and you're on a one-way thing. Will Celtic bring in a striker this week? That's the big question that everyone's looking at. Martin O'Neill says we now have time to sign players over the next week due to the cup game and Europe, as they couldn't play anyway. This is true. I mean, any player that we can't bring in can't play in Europe until the next phase of European football, which would be the knockout game. So whilst we do have a little bit of time to bring in a player, would it not be beneficial to Celtic and the player to get the player in and get him training with the club so that he is fully immersed in the way that Martin O'Neill wants them to play. Martin O'Neill's passing the buck. Martin O'Neill, by saying that, God, good morning from sunny Benidorm, Brit Bar Central, Brit Bar Central, and the only place in Europe that does a march on the 12th of July. It's a horrible place. Gareth, they'll appeal the red. Anyway, getting back to Celtic and down. The fact that Martin O'Neill has said we've got a bit of time now until the Hearts game. We've got 10 days or something. 10 days until the Hearts game. It's we've got we've got Auchinleck Talbot. You know, in bygone times, Auchinleck Talbot, Celtic would put the B team out. You know, you put all your substitutes out. You put the players that are not getting games on week in, week out. Michelangelo Balikwisha would get a game. It'll be very telling if Michelangelo Balikwisha does not get any game time, does not make the bus for Auchinleck Talbot, or does the manager go, I cannot afford to even have a slip up here? And does the manager not trust the players enough that are sitting on the bench, that can't get on the bench, to play the game? It says a lot when we go into a cup game against Auchinleck Talbot and we can't afford ourselves to rest some players for the Bologna game, because the Bologna game is the big game that you're wanting all your top players to be rested and, you know, in a good frame of mind. Auchinleck Talbot should take care of itself, really. And it shows you how far Celtic have come backwards. Having all these titles that we've won over the last 10 years, having all this money in the bank, now means absolutely nothing. Nada. Because of the incompetence of the board. The incompetence of the board and the previous two managers. You cannot forget that the previous two managers did not want to play youth players, hence the position that we are in today. That, you know, and I tell you one thing, it's going to be hilarious for Daniel Cummins when he's not an English Premiership player because the team that he went to got relegated. But anyway, would Daniel have Cummins made a difference this season? Well, we don't know because he's injured also. It's not a striker we need because we can't score. We just need composure in midfield. To me, we need a big. We need someone in midfield that could put in a fight. Because Luke McCowan came on last night. He was pushed off the ball, bullied off the ball. Celtic don't like this. Celtic team do not like the physical side of the game. And in the modern game in 2026, it is very physical. Even in a European context, you know, it's the physicality of the players, the speed of the players. We seem to have a team of 5'8" players. That's the way that it looks on the pitch. You know, I know that a lot of them aren't, but it looks like we've got a team of 5'8" players. Now, if you've got the ability, and if you've got the hunger, you know, the ability and hunger going together, you're going to beat every team. But we don't have the ability, and we don't really have the hunger. It's the two main things that Celtic have always been known for over the years, and I think that Benidorm also has a great Paddy's Day parade as well. Yeah, but it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It's full of English. If you want a good St. Patrick's Day parade, you go an hour down the coast to a place called Cabo Roig, where there was 15,000 people last year watching the parade. The one at Benidorm is just a joke. That's not. It's a bunch of English boozers getting boozed up with wearing green. The best St. Paddy's Day parade in Europe, and it's official, is down in Cabo Roig, and about an hour down the road from Benidorm. Fact. Trust me on it. I'm pretty sure it was a bad challenge. I'm not caring about the challenge for them here, Baz. No Brit Bar Central tonight. We need a right-sided centre-back, attacking midfielder, two strikers, and at least a right-sided winger. This is very true. Um, Kev, you're right. It is full of that lot. I lived an hour from there. I used to go there at least 2 or 3 times a year. I know exactly what it's like, and trust me, it's if you've got an Irish accent in Benidorm, you don't have the best of times. Anyway, hearts for the game. I'm just jumping through some of the comments. Bum, bum, bum. What was that? Martin O'Neill, you're right. It is. It is that. Anyway, Calmac. I mean, we could sit tonight. We could sit and discuss the players from last night, but ultimately, Martin O'Neill kind of did it for us. So we know that we're in a battle. We know that we need new players in, and will Celtic get the players in that's needed? I mean, even if we win big against Auchinleck Talbot, it's not going to be the Auchinleck Talbot game. Should have been a game where you're bringing in younger players, where you're bringing in Dane Murray, where you're bringing in Colby Donovan. Do you know? And that's about it that we've got for youth players. Callum Osmond would have been great for this game. You know, you put all those players out and say just go and destroy the team. Show us what you've got. Show us that you're the future of Celtic Football Club. And what have we got? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And we're probably going to have to go and play our best players. Anyway, that is me done and dusted for this morning. There will be a members only chat around about 5:30. No, there won't. It will be around about 4:30. 4 o'clock Celtic Park time. Either that or it'll have to be later on. But anyway, on that note, have an absolutely fantastic day, Celtic fans, wherever you are, all around the world.